Hello and welcome back to the Professionals Podcast. I am Rachel West, your host. I am a personal growth coach. I specialize in mindset, mental health, and addiction. And I have a belief that we must do the inner work if we ever want the outer to work. And I also believe that when we get to know others, we find that we have a lot more in common than we do different. Today, I have a very special guest, Veronica Scala. Welcome to the show, Veronica.
Hello, thank you, Rachel. Thanks for having me today.
Yes. So Veronica is a senior business development manager with Landmark Recovery.
Yes, I am. So I am here in Las Vegas, Nevada with Landmark Recovery, which is a full-service drug and alcohol treatment center that works with all major commercial insurances, offers all levels of care, and provides transportation. And we are open 24/7 for calls.
So wonderful. That's so needed here in our community. So why don't we just jump right in and give us a quick 5 minute or so background on your journey and how you got to Landmark and what else you're doing these days.
Yes. Okay. Well, I am originally from Chicago, Illinois, and moved to Las Vegas when I was just 13. So Vegas is pretty much home at this point. I grew up in my family's business, worked in sales and advertising. I went to Pepperdine University with a degree in advertising. And when I graduated, I went back and worked for family, sales, and marketing. So that is my background. And then I made a career change about 7 years ago. And that's when I got led into the mental health realm. Growing up in a family that had a bit of addiction issues, mental health issues, it really is something that influenced me on making a big change, going from bigger sales into an industry where we can help some people. And in a city like Las Vegas, it is something that is just so badly needed. So I made that switch and slowly worked my way up into business development. So I'm responsible for communicating with other residents of Las Vegas and business owners and folks in the community who may be needing help or in front of people who could be looking for help. So it's been quite a journey. And in the last 7 years, I've made some wonderful connections, ended up meeting some great friends along the way, such as yourself, Rachel. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. And I have to say, it was really one of those things that was kind of a surprise when I put things aside and really started to focus on the things that were more important in life and the things that really brought me joy in my day. And it turned to where kind of work wasn't work anymore. And it's something that I'm really happy with. And it feels good at the end of the day that I can use kind of my marketing skills, but then maybe help save a life at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. I love that. It does feel good when you're doing something that not only helps others, but helps yourself too. So you mentioned that your background is in sales, and I have a belief that no matter what industry you're in, you are a sales person. How important is sales for being a professional?
Well, Rachel, it's actually funny you asked that because I was just thinking about this the other day with another colleague is no matter what we're doing, we're kind of always selling ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's taken me even a long time to understand, that I'm part of something bigger now. And not only am I selling a business, selling the company I work with, selling treatment, I'm also selling myself. And it's really something that is important for professionals when we're out there is that to remember that we're always representing, if it's our companies, the folks we work for or with, that we want to uphold that type of image and just be true to ourselves. So it's easier when we can just, take that path to stay true to ourselves and really just, be us when we're out there. So selling isn't really something that's a challenge. It's not something we have to think about. It's just who we are.
Yeah, I love that. What would you say is the number one trait you have that sells you?
Well, let's see. So I would have to say at this point is really identifying, what I want out of life, being in control of my identity and just being kind. We never know what people are going through in our day. We all have instances here and there that, kind of put a little damper on our day. And it's just something to remember that we're not the only ones go out there going through these things, that others are as well. So, just to keep in mind that, if we can be kind, it's not always easy, but just, kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's really having empathy for others because you
Yes.
really don't know what they're going through. And if they're in a, I don't even know what to call it, but in a state where they're just not being a kind person back, you know that there's something more going on there, that they're reacting in that kind of way.
Right, right. And to not let that ruin your day or affect your day and just, go on your path, focus on what's important, do the right things, and you could feel good about that. And it doesn't have to be that guilt or shame. And you can just, move on and focus on what you can control.
Yeah, and I know for me personally, like when I'm going through things, you still have to live your life. You can't just turn it off and hide in your room and under a blanket. You still have to go through life. And so you're showing up the best you can for that day, but inside your mind is just all over the place. So I know for me, I try to still be kind to others when I'm going through that. But it's nice when people are kind back because I'm really struggling internally sometimes and it is helpful. So I try to keep that in mind when I see that other people are struggling as well, to know that there's something more going on that I don't know about.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And that's just something I try to keep in mind. And we all have those days, like you said, we just want to get under the blanket, turn the lights off, watch some television. And that's okay too, to remember, sometimes when we're hitting that wall, that it's a feeling that's there for a reason. Maybe it's time just to lean on that wall for a little bit and take a little break, have that rest and reset.
Yes, that happened to me last year actually. I was homeschooling my daughter and I was growing my business at the same time and I felt like a robot. I was just going from one task to the next, housekeeping and dinners and my relationship and all these things just kept going one after another and I would just feel like I was a robot, just going, 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 and my body would just shut down for like 2 weeks and it would say, you can't do this anymore. So it taught me to make time in my day, even if it's like 15 minutes, to just shut everything out and just go for a little walk or turn on some music for 15 minutes, just to give myself that break during the day. Because if I don't do that, my body's going to make me do it for longer than I want to do.
Yes, I identify with you wholeheartedly. And that's actually why I kind of made this transition from going to big sales into treatment. Is same thing. I was doing something that I didn't love, that I didn't really like, to be honest, but it was family business. It was high pace. I was busy all the time. And when it's family, there's a whole nother piece to that where it's like you can't fail, right? You have to do good. There's always go, go, go. So when I kind of hit that wall, like you said, making this big change, it really was a huge decision because, of course, there were more factors in there. It wasn't just like quitting a job; it was family. Um, so there was a lot to overcome, and I went back and started from very, very bottom and learned what I like and really tried to find those things that brought me joy again, because I was noticing it was happiness was over here and my life was on this side, if it was family or work or everyday activities, and it just seemed like the things that were bringing me joy that used to keep me happy was just shrinking a little bit. So it just took that step back to kind of realign my priorities.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people fall into that and they don't realize that every area of your life really does matter and go together. So even though you might be doing really good in this area, but this area down here is not doing so well, it really is finding a harmony where you can have that balance in every area instead of having it higher over here and not so great over here, because it really does affect you.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So you mentioned earlier that mentioned communication. So I wanted to ask, what communication barriers have you had to overcome? Either something that you learned or how you communicate with others in dealing with how their response back to you.
Okay, well, it's actually an interesting question because I feel like that's something that we all kind of figure out in our own ways.
Yeah.
And being someone that grew up in um, a household that wasn't really always emotionally present at times, I've kind of became one of those people that was just really good at kind of like being a chameleon and learning what people kind of expected from me. But that also led me to kind of being one of those people that just was keeping the peace. So for me, it was actually, I want to say, easier maybe to learn those communication methods to really get folks engaged with myself and understand more quickly what they're looking for. But I will say, in general, is just listening more than talking. Give people a really good chance to say what they need, what they want. And one thing for me that I've always asked when someone comes to me with an issue, a problem to solve, or whatnot, I ask them a couple of different questions when they're explaining something to me that's frustrating in their lives. I ask them, how can I be of help in this situation? Do you want me to just listen? Would you like me to take action? Or what would be the best for you, for me? And see what they say. And a lot of people will just say, I just need you to listen. Or maybe you can help me with this. So I just ask, what can I do to make your day easier in this scenario?
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to take note of that. Because it is, if you ask the right questions, you'll get the right response.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely, I feel like listening is a skill that more people need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I also wanted to share, like, I have a similar situation where in the past, I felt like I had just been going through the motions of life, checking off boxes and doing the things that I thought I was supposed to be doing, or that my family or society said that I should be doing. And I didn't even realize that I was doing it until I started my personal development journey and started learning more about myself, and realized that where I was at that time wasn't really where I wanted to be. I thought, like, oh, this is what I'm going to do with my life. I really enjoy doing this. I'm really good at doing this. But what I realized was it was just that, checking off the boxes. And yes, I was good at it. But now that I'm doing what I love doing, it makes such a difference. I feel like we show up differently when we're doing something with purpose.
Yes, you know what? And I identify with you 100%. And I think that I've gone through actually these types of transitions a couple of times, really. And I'm sorry, I have my puppies barking, but I've definitely been there as well, and it's not always easy.
Yeah, that's why I love this approach to the professionals podcast, because I didn't know that about you. And so I really do have that belief that when we open up and express ourselves and we become more vulnerable, even though people think that it's a really scary thing to do, what I found that it allows others to be vulnerable back. And it allows for a deeper connection because you're finding those similarities.
Mhm.
But it's just getting people to open up.
Right, right. That's not the easy part. I know for sure. We don't always want to just dive right in, but once we can feel safe in an environment and we can be vulnerable.
Yeah. I really wanted you to share about your um, Reach Out for Recovery program that you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes. So, Reach Out for Recovery is a medical concierge service that I offer that is completely complimentary. And basically, what that is anybody can call in if you're looking for any type of treatment, whether it be detox, residential care, outpatient care. It's doesn't make a difference, and I will do the legwork for you. And I started that because actually my little cousin was struggling with substances, and even with her insurance it took a couple of days, almost I think 4 days, before we really found the right fit for her, whether that be for her financial needs, insurance, the type of program she was looking for, basically fill her needs and wants. And it was complicated, and I'm work in this industry. So I started this as just a tool and a resource just to help those that might not know where to start or are looking for help for a loved one. I just want to offer my services to help. I can make those calls for you and help find the treatment that's the best fit.
What number can people call if they want to reach out to you for that service?
So you can either call me at 702-715-4575, or you can go to reachoutforrecovery.com as well.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Is there anything else that you wanted to share about you and your many adventures that you're on?
Well, I would just like to say at this point that, well, one, I really appreciate being here today with you, Rachel. And then just to remind folks, that we're all kind of out here in this great fight together, and it's okay to lean on your friends or family or coworker, whoever that might be, when you need help or just want to talk, and that you're not in it alone, right? So
Mhm.
we can all be there together to help each other.
Yes, and there is a big community out there. And I want to take this time that Veronica and I co host a monthly luncheon called True Connections. You can find us on Facebook or Eventbrite. And it's a group that we started together along with another gal to bring the community and resources together here locally in the Las Vegas area for mental health and addiction awareness. Did you want to comment on our little?
Oh, yes. So thank you for bringing that up. So True Connections is a monthly luncheon that we host, and we invite our local community to come, whether that be if you're in mental health, if you want just more information, or if you're just in business for yourself or working anywhere else. We really open it up to everybody at this point, and it is just a nice way, and it's a fun way to meet other folks in the community who are like-minded, wanting to assist everybody and really just make a new friend along the way.
Yes, it really is a great community that we have developed. So one last question here for you. What does being a professional mean to you?
Well, being a professional for me is just being somebody who, I'll mention I have a smaller sister. She's 12 years old. And in my mind, it's just being someone that she can look up to, being somebody who, made a choice for myself to build my own identity and work for it and really work for it, and see that if you put your mind to something, it can happen. That life's not just about all these creative ideas that a lot of us have and are pretty awesome, but it's making that step and taking that risk. And I do believe that, what's meant for you will come.
I love that. I love that. So if our viewers want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So you are welcome to email me at veronica.scala@gmail.com. And that's probably the easiest way just to get hold of me.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. It was so much fun talking with you.
Yes, thank you, Rachel. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Well, that concludes another episode of the Professionals Podcast. We are here on the first Wednesday of every month. So I look forward to seeing you again next month, December 7th, for our next episode.